Welcome to the Great Plains Athletic Conference training tape number 5. Sean Johnston, the Great Plains Athletic Conference supervisor, alongside with Monty Tilgener with the Big Ten Conference. Monty, welcome to training tape number 5. What words of wisdom do you have from reviewing plays from last week?
Yeah, I think we just need to really, focus on the details. Those little things are really important. And if we concentrate on those details and make sure we get those right, then we're going to be in good shape.
I will give our staff huge kudos of mechanics. Really, the first portion of the season, we really push mechanics, and as we transfer into like Monty just said, more fine detail. The good mechanics, the great mechanics, gets us in position to get calls right. So don't lose focus on those as we get deeper into fine details. Here is the first one. Still a lot of talk in multiple conferences, all college football. What can the defense and what cannot the defense do? This is a good example of the movement by the defense is legal here, and then we have a false start on the offense. So, Monty, what have you seen at your level of the defense adjusting to this new rule of staying low, moving laterally?
Yeah, so the big thing that was always talked about was abrupt movements by the defense. So what we're seeing now is when they do their shift or their move, they're doing it slower and they might go from one arm down and kind of put the other arm down and then shift over to the side. So the abruptness is really the major factor that we're looking for.
Yep. And here we just have a lateral movement, um, just switching gaps.
Yeah, and it's not extremely abrupt. It's not a jump, to the side as quick as you can, which is more of a simulating
Yeah, well,
action.
excellent. The next one is just a conversation of if this play were to be reviewed, what type of outcome would it come out of it? So we're going to let the play go. We have a run up the middle, and the ruling on the field is a touchdown. Then we're going to get the end zone view of this play. And this is the clips that the referee turned replay official is going to have. And first time we see the body down is probably this action right here, and no indisputable evidence where the ball is. So this play would stand. Monty, what with the angles we have and what we've seen in the GPAC conference this year, what do you think would take for us to overturn a tight goal line play for the coaches to understand when to use that challenge and when not to use that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, you would need, to be able to piece the two of them together. So maybe on one shot, you see the knee down, and then on the other one, everything is pushed, whether you're looking at this view or the other view. So it would need to be where we could see that like zero part of that body, even the helmet of that runner, in no way could be at the goal line. And then we could either confirm or reverse. But, you know, this one's just that's too tight.
Yeah, and I there's going to be another play in this training tape. The administrators watching the training tapes, how useful and important it is for the referees while looking at the iPad and the two angles synced up at the same time. And what we mean by synced up is if we stop the end zone angle right now and then we go back to this clip, it's actually at the very same timestamp. So if you are not having that at your site, I would call Sky Coach so you can get the clip synced up so the officials could use the system as best as they possibly could do to confirm or overturn a call on the field.
Yeah, that's extremely important because we can't for us to be able to find that same spot from a different angle, it's just not going to happen. You're going to be guessing, and that's when you can't really make a good ruling.
Third clip here. This play happened in our conference last week. Once again, it happened this week. Again, we have 4th down and 3. We have a number 6 here. Then we're going to go to the end zone angle, and the returner is number 6 as well. A couple things I want to say on this. As we stated last week, most of the time when the officials get this call correct on the field, they are receiving information from a coaching staff, from an alternate official. It's not normal for us pre-snap to look at all 22 players to make sure there's no identical numbers out there. So coaches, if you see identical numbers out there, get it down to your head coach, get it down to your specials team coach, and get it to the officials as quickly as possible. Monty, how long would you be able to, not, I don't want to say wait, but throw the flag? What's the latest you could throw the flag after receiving the information on a play like this?
Yeah, so I've been involved in 5 of them. Personally involved in 2, and one, the coach was right next to me, and he's like, "Hey, there's two number 3s right there." So then at the snap, I threw. The other one was plays over, and guys are running off the field, and again, a coach is like, "Hey, there's 2 number 3s. Let's just say again," and I saw them both coming off the field. I knew that they were previously on the field, so there was really no judgment in were they there or not. Once they get to the sideline, that's probably the latest we can do. And if they're doing a substitution process and we're not sure, hey, were they on or were they coming on or were they going off? That's another one where we're not going to be able to. But yeah, probably if they're all running off when they get to the sideline, that's about as long as it can take.
And when it comes to challenges, this is not challengeable. Say this play happened in the fourth quarter, the offensive team could have held on to the ball with that 5-yard penalty. We could challenge 12 players on the field. We cannot challenge multiple numbers on the field.
Yeah, and I think one thing for us to think about as a staff is since this has happened and it's happened twice and it's happened both on special teams play, that's when it's almost always going to happen when they're bringing those other guys in. So I think, as officials, we might need to try to make that part of our pre-snap routine that's an extra pre-snap routine only on special teams plays where we're trying to maybe get this on our own.
Next one, forwards, backwards pass is reviewable. So we'll talk about the review process. We'll talk about the rule involved with this. But we saw the ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. That's what the line of scrimmage official is signaling here. And as we play this out, we have immediate recovery at the 44-yard line. All right, so Monty, this goes to review. When it comes to forwards, backwards pass, what's the first thing we have to identify?
Yeah, well, first of all, mechanically, we have a little bit of a breakdown here. So if it's the line judge's primary, not only on the line judge, but line judge's primary unless there's trips to the line judge's side. Well, we don't have that here. So our line judge should be the primary official for ruling this as forward or backward. I think that might help there as well. Another thing you can do, especially line judge, when you see this swing pass, there's nothing wrong with you taking a couple steps back in the offensive backfield and getting, up to that, like back to that 50-yard line, where now you have a better angle yet to make that ruling. But I think that's where our first breakdown was. And then remember, by rule, it's where it's released and where it's first touched. It has nothing to do with the initial direction of the ball. And that comes into play more often when you have players who are moving. So say, Nebraska used to run the option and they'd pitch the ball when they're 20 yards downfield, back in the in the 20 years ago. And if they had that pitch back who was, there was 5 yards of space between those two guys, and he was a half a yard behind that quarterback could pitch it backwards. So the initial direction would be backward, but by the time that ball traveled 5 yards horizontally to that running back, and both those guys are going, 10, 15 miles per hour, that ball was first touched forward of where it was released, and therefore would be an illegal forward pass. So we got to understand the rule to make sure. And this one, that we really don't have that. We got a stationary person here. But if the wind would affect a longer pass all the way across the field or something like that, if the wind would move it, it's from where it's released to first touched. If it's first touched behind where it was released, it's backward. First touched even or beyond, it's forward.
Yep. So here we have it's released at the 47, and then it touches at the 46. This is a backwards pass. And then the ruling is overturned because we have immediate recovery, which we're going to allow the recovery, but not the advancement of the ball after the recovery.
Yep. And we've said this before, there's no time limit on how long you have for what's considered an immediate recovery. Really, it's based on if players continue, to pursue the play.
All right, we have the last play of the half here. All right, this is context for the final result. All right, but a lot of stuff going on here on this field goal attempt. The first one, we'll talk about the referee position and who is allowed to contact the kicker. And in college, the only player that blocks the kick is protected from free of foul on the kicker. So number 10 is the one who blocks this kick. Number 10 goes into the kicker, but he's the one who blocked the kick, so we would not have roughing the kicker on that. So not only do we have to see the touch, we have to see who touches the ball. All right, so we saw the result of the play is a touchdown, but we have a couple fouls on this play. So Monty, let's talk about when it comes to the blocks staying low and going low. What are we going to allow the offense to do and not do?
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to remember that this is one time on a scrimmage kick formation where they can interlock their legs, so they can be overlapping their legs. And what they normally do is that the level that their shoulders are at right now, normally they just pinch in, but they stay at that level. And you can see these two players, especially the one on our right, especially the one on our right, definitely goes lower and goes down and into that number 95 or whatever, the defensive player. So that would be a foul because we know that by rule, no one can block below the waist on a scrimmage kick or free kick. So, if they just stay where they're at, they're fine. But if they go lower and especially go lower and initiate contact like these guys are doing, then you're gonna have a foul. And it wouldn't matter if this is a block below the waist or a chop block because they can't block below the waist on this particular play, being a kick play.
All right, so then we
And
go
we
to the
see this high five at the end, they're not taunting. So, we don't want to flag that action. They're allowed to, have a quick celebration and so on. They're not turning back and waving at number 43 or something like that, which would be an unsportsmanlike, but that's you might want to talk to them, but that's definitely not a foul.
yeah, and just a reminder, talk about taunting, the new NCAA clarification of any simulated actions of spraying, shooting towards an opponent or the crowd is an automatic unsportsmanlike conduct. We do not have a clip like that in the GPAC conference, but it was sent out. We just have to dead ball officiate. After a score, congratulate the players, as in good play, good catch, good run, but then get them focused on getting back to their sideline and celebrating with their teammates in the team area. So the crew, this is now the first play of the second half. Since it was a scoring play and the foul was by the non-scoring team, that team now gets to elect to have that 15-yard penalty enforced on the succeeding play, which would have been the try or kickoff. So this is why we are starting at the kickoff at the 50-yard line after the 15-yard foul. So I have this guy circled here, Monty. He's outside the restraining line. He's inside the numbers right now. How much leeway are we going to give players after the ready for play whistle to get legal on that 5-yard belt, was the question that came up on this play.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally fine with that. Basically, they can't start their approach going forward without starting on that line. So
don't nitpick that, officials. Talk to them, get them legal, and that's a great threshold. They have to start their approach legally. All right, another forwards backwards pass. So we had the one where we had a 1 yard clearly backwards, and now we're going to have another one coming towards us on this play. And the ruling on the field is a backwards pass. All right, so on the field, we have the philosophy of when in doubt, we're going to make it forward pass. When in doubt, wipe it out. But then when we go back to replay, we cannot use that philosophy. We have to use the definite information that we have. So, Monty, is there enough definite information here to show the time where the ball was when it was released versus first touched to overturn this, or would this be a stand in your opinion?
yeah, so freeze it right when he releases it. I really think it's great judgment by the line judge. I do think it's backward, but we're not right down the line. It looks to me like his arm is probably above, over the top of the 25 when it's released. And it looks like he's catching that probably a half a yard back. But when we're not down the line, I'm saying it looks like this, it looks like this. And when we're talking and looks like, that means it's going to stand.
Yep.
But I do like the judgment. I really think it is backward.
And I agree. This is going to be stands as called on the field as a backwards pass. There's no indisputable evidence that went clearly forward.
And this was played out excellently by the line judge. We do not toss a beanbag on a backward pass. It's not a fumble. So, we don't want to toss a bag, but he signals back. He holds it back. He gets behind the play. He officiates it to the end, and then he has the recovery, and then he signals, that's going to be Dort's ball. I mean, you can't really handle it any better than that.
And then just a philosophical thing to keep in our minds. We don't have a replay official in the booth. So when in doubt, if you truly, truly don't know, when in doubt, make it forward, make it a full yard backwards to make it a backwards pass. So at the end of the day, this is the end zone angle. We have a backwards pass, not controlled, so it remains a backwards pass controlled by the defense. So we had leaping and leveraging in our bulletin last week. Coach turned this clip in asking, is this over the shield blocker's body? Is this directly over the body, or is this jump and leap legal? So this is going to be the shield blocker. And then
it looks really bad, but it's all about angles.
Yeah, and here's the end zone angle, and you never lose sight of the shield blocker's helmet. And really, that's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Directly over the blocker's body would be over the helmet. And really, the last thing I put in here, that leaping rule is actually there to protect the leaper. As Monty said, this looks ugly. We don't want the defense to put themselves in harm's way to jump and go head over heels like that. Another game, another similar play. We want to continue officiating these tough plays consistently throughout the conference and throughout the year. So we have a false start here, and this is probably the threshold we are going to allow the defense to move and not be considered abrupt. So we'll play it out in regular motion, and then we'll talk about sort of why this one is a little bit different than the last one. So, Monty, what do you have on this one being a little bit different than the first one on this clip?
Yeah, so I watched this one several times to make sure I looked at all players. And the two outside guys, they're fine. They go down with one hand and then they shift over and it's not abrupt. Watch the guy in the middle. He does not change laterally at all. He jerks his left arm up and his left knee up. And that would be one that I'm just saying if you're a coach and you have this is exactly what you're doing, you're at a very high risk that they might say this is a delay game on the defense. They might put this on the defense. And I guess my advice would be if you are purposely coaching your guys to stem, and as a coach, you're hoping that the offense will fall start, that if they do and they put it on the defense, you really should not be upset with the officials.
Yeah.
You might be, but you know what you're trying to do. So you're putting yourself in harm's way when you give us that judgment.
Yeah, and
this one's close. This one's really close.
This one is really close. The first one, as Monty said, all defenders moved simultaneously at the same time. They were truly moving to a different gap. This one, it's not a normal defensive movement to switch gaps to stem. Another comment that was made from the crew is the linebackers are saying move. What will we allow the linebackers to say to dictate when they are going to switch gaps?
Yeah, well, we know that they can't. If the offense claps, they can't clap. If the offense says go for their hut, they can't say go. If the offense says hut, they can't say hut. They can't say the same thing the offense does. They can't clap if the offense claps. But a move, a holler of move, or a holler of go, if the offense does not use that for their cadence, that is fine. But when you team that verbal up with an abrupt movement, you're now taking it to a little higher level yet of it possibly being put on the defense.
So we have a catch, no catch review. This was another great example of the importance of having the two camera angles synced up together, because when you piece them together, you could actually see both feet, but you can't see both feet at the same time from one angle. So you go back and forth, and if they're synced up, you're definitely going to get this call right. So we'll let this play out, and then sort of what we would be looking at for review to overturn the call of touchdown on the field.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one because initially I was trying to watch it and see, if one of those feet got down. And from this angle, I could see what I call the no sock leg. All right, you can see that which I believe is his right leg. That definitely never goes down. But I can't see if the other one tapped the ground because that defender was in the way. But on this angle, you can see the leg with the sock clearly the entire time, never come down. And if you piece those two together, you know that a foot did not get down in bounds. And then I think the other angle is best for the hand coming down out of bounds. This one you can kind of see it. This angle you can see for sure. I mean, this would be indisputable video evidence that that hand is out of bounds. The other angle, it looks like it. It probably, it looks like it is, but we can't say indisputably it is. But from this angle, indisputably that right hand is 100%, in the white.
And
So
then
that's where syncing it's going to be very important.
and then just a side note, this is the end zone nearest the end zone camera. This is a good place to challenge this type of call. If this play happened on the far end
Yeah,
zone,
you have
we
no choice.
probably won't have this good of a look. So keep that in mind as a coaching staff, what end zone that camera's at, to give you a better chance and the officials a better chance to confirm or overturn a call.
And mechanically on this one, go back to the other view if you would.
Yep.
I love the patience, of our field judge, side judge. I'm not sure which one it is here. I would like a little more depth. So remember, when we're snapping the ball from the 15 for sure, we want to be on that back restraining line. So that dotted line is where we want you to be. And what that does is that gives you depth. If you're back there further, another 2 yards, you now are further away to have a better view because distance is our friend in a situation like this. So if we're another 2 yards back, right where that dotted line is, and we should be there, we should start there anytime we're at the 15. If you want to go there at the 20, I'm good with that. But at the 15, that's your mechanic, is you start on that dotted back restraining line. But very good patience. Also, there's been questions about, hey, should we look at our line of scrimmage official? And I only would if I have doubt. Otherwise, I'm just going to own this thing. I got a great look at it. If I have doubt, then I might see if he has some help. And short wings, remember, we don't want our deep wing to step out and straddle that line because we want our short wing to be able to. But we do want our short wings to step, so they'll have 1 foot in the white, 1 foot in the green on the field of play, straddling that line, to have even a better view straight down the line. But deep wings, we don't want you to do that because otherwise you do obstruct his view and maybe he can't help you.
And that takes us to our final play of the game, another goal line and fumble review situation and discussion to talk about had this play gone to review. So if a catch, ball carrier, extension, ball is out. So you saw it right at the end of the play. The ruling on the field was the ball carrier was short, line to gain, prior to that ball coming out.
Yeah, so on this one, I think it's the coach's view, shows that the ball is definitely in possession when the knee is down, but it doesn't give us any aspect of where it is in relation to the goal line. So if you go back just a hair right there,
Yep.
you can see definitely we have a knee and a shin down. And right now, I mean, we have a still shot, so we can't see is the ball moving. But if we go forward 1 frame, we can see the ball hasn't moved. Therefore, we know that 1 frame back, it had not started to move yet. So we could say he's down, but the ruling on the field of short or ruling on the field of touchdown, there's no way we could do anything with that. That's going to stand no matter how we call it. And
And
remember, umpires, don't be on that goal line. We're really close here. Get yourself a yard either in the end zone or a yard in the field of play because you're obstructing the vision of whoever that official is, either the headline judge or line judge, on the bottom part of the screen, on our left. So yeah, get either in the field of play a little more or in the end zone a little more, so he has a clear view like the official at the top does.
I would prefer in the end zone so that other line of scrimmage can help rule spot and the goal line.
Yeah, a great point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just to also remind, if the coach was only ruling fumble on this play, referees, when you go into the replay tent, you are now reviewing all aspects of the play. So you would throw in the goal line there as well. No video evidence here could do anything with it, but just remember when you're in that replay, just because you go for the fumble, continue to keep your mind and perspective open. All aspects of review are now reviewable. Crazy situation. Let's just say there were 12 players on defense on the field. All right, you can review that aspect. We don't have 12 here, but just a small note.
So I've talked a couple of different weeks about how the camera pushes everything. So Sean, just go to the 1 yard line to the goal line and put a circle around it with the outside hash on the far left, my bad, right in front of the umpire there. Yep, even further over the outside of the two hashes. And look at that distance between the 1 yard line and the goal line. Okay. And now do the same thing at the 25 to the 24 yard line on the same hash mark or any of those.
Yeah.
Look at the distance.
Oh,
Look at the
no.
difference in the distance between those two. So when I talk about the camera pushing it and skewing the angle, you can see it right there because it just doesn't look like the same distance when you're talking that circle compared to that one right there.
That's a good visual to understand how different a look could be perceived depending on that camera angle. Well, that does conclude training tape number 5. Monty, appreciate you taking time out with us today and look forward to meeting you again for training tape week number 6. Officials, remember, we're only as good as our last call.